you've ever wanted to dance like the king of pop, now is your chance.
36 of 50 states raised taxes or fees in the last 2 years. The combined total, a whopping $25 billion.
How soon before this stock starts trading?
Well, Tony, there's a bit of excitement here. The word is that it could happen today, which means it could happen anytime now. And deal estimates have ranged from 10 to 20 billion, but keep in mind those are only estimates. And you know, Tony, what a difference a year makes. As you said, last year we're talking about, the automaker descending into bankruptcy depending on a government bailout. Today, we're talking about GM taking a step toward independence. Why? Because the U.S. government owns a 61% stake in the company, and it's expected to sell some of those shares when the stock sale happens later this year. It's also a sign of health for the company. Why? Companies list because they want to attract investors. Investors are only going to buy in if they think that they're going to make money and that the company is doing well, Tony.
So, Patricia, the IPO, will it raise enough money to pay the government back? $50 billion is not chump change here we're talking about.
Not chump change. So will we get our money back, right, Tony, the taxpayers? Well, probably, but, and it's a big but, since most of that $50 billion was converted to stock, much of the question of whether that bailout will be repaid depends on the success of the stock sale. How many shares will be sold, at what price, and you have to keep in mind, Tony, that the recession has also hit the IPO market. But on the flip side, GM has been doing well, selling cars, making money, so the hope is that it will attract those investors. You drive this road every day. And
yeah, this is the most fantastic road because this is actually where I first saw the solar panels come up. And they increased over time. So just seeing them lined up like that is just fantastic.
Hussam Alatresh is an engineer for Petra Solar, a small New Jersey company that's making a big impact on the state's electricity grid.
First of all, it is a solar energy generated. Second of all, it acts as a sensor that communicates back and forth to the utility. Actually does a lot of intelligence analysis on the local conditions of the grid.
This is the panel, and then that's the intelligence right
That's
here.
Exactly.
And that little box is the game changer.
That little box is the game changer. And really the simplest way of saying that is think of an iPhone. One might say, well, it's just a phone. Well, it's a camera, it's a communications device, it has memory, it has a processor, it has software.
Petra Solar is installing 200,000 of what it calls smart solar panels on utility poles all over New Jersey. Smart because they don't just generate energy, they monitor the grid for potential problems, and that could mean fewer blackouts. New Jersey's largest utility, PSE&G, is paying $200 million for the installation. Some of the cost is being passed on to customers.
Ratepayer initially will pay about 10 cents per month for this investment, and then that diminishes over time.
The overall cost still bothers some critics of the project. They say solar investments are driving up the price of conventional electricity for homeowners and businesses. But the mayor here disagrees.
It's not only that we have a company that's, it's green technology doing great things for the environment, but it's creating jobs within Petra and impacting the surrounding communities.
Petra's workforce grew tenfold over the last year. It expects to add hundreds or even thousands more jobs if it can land contracts with other utilities.
We created practically a full spectrum of jobs, PhDs that work for Petra Solar, as well as highly intensive labor work that we have for assembling the systems. We're very proud of, we're humble at the same time, but we're very proud of given the economic environment that surrounds us.
All right, let's see here. What about Petra? How many jobs are we talking about here, Patricia? And could this have a real impact on the unemployment rate?
Well, it all depends on just how many utility companies Petra can convince to make similar investments. So far, it says that it's in talks with at least 40 other utilities in the U.S. and around the world, and it estimates that 100 to 150 jobs can be created per contract signed. So, Tony, if you do the math, that's a potential for 4,000 to 6,000 jobs.
Wow.
That formula has worked for Petra in New Jersey. Petra itself went from 10 to nearly 150 employees in about 4 years, and it's still hiring. There are also spin-off benefits. For example, the company that was hired to install those panels says it's had to hire more workers.
The battle for the bunny. News has been out that Friend Finder, the parent company of Penthouse, wants to buy Playboy. So will Hugh Hefner sell? Will Friend Finder make Playboy profitable again? And who gets that Playboy mansion? Here to answer all of these questions, Friend Finder CEO Mark Bell. Thanks for coming in, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
So the news has been out. You're making a bid for Playboy. Hugh Hefner, you might have heard of him. He's saying no, no deal, not for sale.
At the end of the day, he wants to protect his brand. He wants to take it private, protect his legacy. And we said, you know, we'll happily help you do that. We're not trying to throw him out of his house. We're not trying to change the magazine. We're really looking at, you know, what Playboy Enterprises could be. We're looking at all the value on the digital side, all the value in mobile that really hasn't been achieved, and what assets Friend Finder has that it can bring to the table to help Mr. Hefner get to where he wants to go. I think at the end of the day, he needs to decide, you know, if he wants to buy the company, he's going to have to give the shareholders the biggest value. And right now, we're 13% premium to where he is today. So the board has a fiduciary duty to do what's in the shareholders' best interest, not just the minority shareholder, but all the shareholders. And so most likely he'll probably have to sit down with us and see, you know, what can we do to work together.
Speaking of those shareholders, they filed a lawsuit saying that, you know, they haven't been acting in their best interests. And there was also an investor that filed a lawsuit, Charles Germershausen. Are you part of that lawsuit in any way?
We are not part of any lawsuit. We are trying to do this as a very friendly transaction. We would love the opportunity to work with Mr. Hefner. We would love the opportunity to help him build the online presence, but also retain what he's built. I mean, the guy's built a cultural icon and has become an icon himself.
So if you actually got it, what would you do with it? I mean, it hasn't been profitable since 2007. It's a declining brand. What would you do differently?
I mean, the great part about it is Friend Finder is very profitable. We have over $100 million of EBITDA. We have over 30,000 websites that we run and over 300 million people on those websites. So basically we can take the Friend Finder engine, for lack of a better term, and help push along Playboy's internet properties. The magazine we wouldn't change. We let the magazine continue to run, but in the reality, you know, it's all about online, it's all about digital media, and that could drive an enormous amount of profitability going forward.
And when you look at this icon, surely you have some kind of dream in your mind that if I had Playboy, I would do this. There's got to be some kind of goal in the back of your mind there. What would that be?
I mean, we're really looking at, you know, how the brand is global. You go to anybody around the world, they've heard of the Playboy brand. You ask those same people, when was the last time you went to Playboy's website? They've never been.
So what's the first thing you would do?
The very first thing we would do is probably take the brand and take the online brand and put it into our affiliate program. We have over 200,000 internet affiliates today driving traffic to us. We get about 140 million unique visitors every month.
And you wouldn't worry about diluting that iconic brand at all by doing that?
It's not diluting at all. All we're doing is just expanding the audience. It's all about, you know, reaching more people and allowing more people to see what he's built online and what we will build online for him.
We discussed the declining circulation. So what have they been doing wrong and what have you guys been doing right? Is it just the web presence that they haven't been keeping up with the times?
It's really focusing on the internet side. I mean, we have the publishing business. It's about 2% of our revenues today, but it really isn't a focus. You can still today go to 30,000 newsstands nationwide or in 45 countries and buy Penthouse magazine, but that's not our focus.
So any word from Hefner?
Not as of yet. We got a word, as you saw from the board yesterday, that they are looking at our proposal, and we proposed a meeting next week with them, and hopefully they'll take our meeting.
All right, so the most important question of all, what's the difference between a Playboy Playmate and a Penthouse pet?
They're both beautiful women. 12,000 women every year apply to be in Penthouse magazine. You only can pick 46 or 48 every year to be in the magazine. Only 12 can be Penthouse pets. So at the end of the day, there's really no difference. It's just another medium for people to see people.
If you're successful, who gets the Playboy mansion?
In a perfect world, we would love Mr. Hefner to be involved with the magazine, to live in his house, enjoy his life. And you know, the house is obviously part of the company, but we are not looking to throw him out of his house.
No, you're not looking to move into that mansion.
But no, I never move into a smaller house.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.